how speaking up becomes this feeling of actually being dangerous. This is what I want to talk to you about today. It's like why speaking up feels so scary. And I know I've kind of like mentioned it in the last few episodes, but I really wanted to hit it just a little bit harder in this episode because I think that a lot of times this is where we get stuck. This is where we don't make change in our life. This is where we let the fear drive the car and we just go back to our old ways of being. And so if you remember going back to I'm not assertive and being the good girl and really being afraid of like speaking up to our parents, right? Like whenever we would speak up and share our opinion or how we were feeling, it was reprimanded, maybe physically, or maybe you were just told like to stop talking back, right? And so we learn this behavior to stay quiet and keep others happy because that's what meant we stayed safe as children. So we would avoid punishment. Maybe it was physical, maybe it was emotional, or maybe it was just like we were invalidated and we were told, like, um, don't talk back, be respectful, something like that, right? And so we would get praise for being the good girl. And so then we would kind of just learn that if we stayed agreeable to everything, then all would be well. And this just doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve us in adulthood, right? Maybe it served us as a kid. It helped us stay safe. It helped us survive our childhood. But those patterns get kind of hardwired into us. And so we have to spend some time undoing that because right now over time we have learned that like speaking up can lead to conflict, rejection, emotional withdrawal, and so the silence felt safer. And so when it becomes wired, I mean, it's not like the easy path to undo, because when it is wired within us, then when we think about speaking up or thinking about a boundary we want to put in place or thinking about a line that we want to draw in the sand, we get these really strong feelings within our bodies because it is so unfamiliar that it feels dangerous, and it actually can put us into like this fight or flight mode. And so we're associating, our brain starts to associate speaking up with danger. If I speak up, somebody's going to fight back. I'm going to get punished. And so we just really, as children, learned don't do that again. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. And then we hit adulthood, and this is where a lot of us, maybe you're really afraid of confrontation. For me, if there was any form of confrontation, I would shake. I would want to run. I would typically avoid people for the rest of the day and just things like that, right? But we get to realize now we are not children. We are not the child version of ourselves. And while she is still within us right now, we get to start to decide how we want to drive the car. And this is where, again, I talked about this last week, but reparenting ourselves, right? Remothering ourselves, deciding the kind of life that we want to live, deciding maybe the boundaries that we need to put in place, the lines we need to draw in the sand, and the speaking up to get our needs met that we need to share with our husbands, maybe with our kids, maybe with other people. And we get to really start to create safety around that and know that this little child part of us pops up, and we get to tell her it's okay. It's okay for people to be wrong about us. It is okay um for them to be in their emotions. So the example with the husband, if he begrudgingly goes to get that glass of milk for one of your children, well, he helped create them. So I'm going to say that now. He helped create them, and he gets to help take care of them. That is not solely your job. His sole purpose is not to provide financially for your family. This is a team effort. This is a partnership. I don't want my kids to all grow up and move out of the house, and I don't know who my husband is anymore because we haven't been a team this whole time. One day you might wake up and realize like you've been doing it all on your own all along. And what a shitty realization. And so we want to be in a partnership that we love to be in and that we both show up for each other. And so I just want you to think about creating that and just letting this little part of you know I'm an adult now, and I get to create a life that I want to live, and I get to be supported and I get to have help from those around me, and it's okay for people to be wrong about me. And they get to feel their emotions when we ask for some help. And so I just want you to like allow all of this to kind of flow in and really think about um how not speaking up definitely feels like a safer option to this little part in the moment, but how it leads to actually long term harm of you. So, unmet needs, the resentment, losing sight of who you really are. If you ever find yourself saying, like, I've lost myself in motherhood, this is kind of where it starts to come from, is that you start to pour your heart and soul into taking care of everybody else, including your husband. And forgetting who you are in the process and the things that you once dreamed of. And now you're just pissed at your husband because you don't get to have the life that you wanted to live. And you just think that this is how it has to be. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. And so I want you to really look at like what you are going to lose if you stay silent, right? If you stay silent, what are you actually losing? And this is going to be like the life that you wanted to live, that amazing relationship that you want to have with your partner. If you stay silent, you're never going to have that. And so I just want you to really think about those things, because if you continue to stay silent, you're never going to have an amazing relationship with your partner. So, why should we stay silent? So, I want you to start to let the fear of what you're going to create if you keep your mouth shut get a little bit bigger than the fear of speaking up. Okay. So conflict is okay. It is safe. You get to reparent that little part of you when she pops up and tell her that she's okay. It's okay for people to be wrong about us. We're safe. This is okay. He can have his emotions. I did nothing wrong. Like whatever you need to say to yourself, right? In that moment. And pretty soon, because I had you start on that small scale, right? Being like, hey, babe, can you grab that glass of milk? Then you're going to start to build that confidence within yourself, and it will lead to bigger and bigger and bigger asks, and maybe even full-blown conversations with your partner of like, here's where I need help. That's where it led me, was being able to ask, I need help around the house. Like, what are you willing to do? He was willing to do laundry. He was willing to vacuum. He was willing to like help with yard work and do those things. And I mean, and we have kids who are older now, and so they also help. So there's a lot of things that come into play. But when our kids were really little, this is when I first had my little, I don't want to call it a little explosion, but kind of a little explosion where I would make passive aggressive comments to try to get the help that I needed. And that was also not serving anybody either. So you get to have your needs met and you get to have the things that you desire. And so just really start thinking about that. And then that's the starting small. I need help with this. You could say, I'd rather not. That's another thing that I put in my notes. Like, I'd rather not do that, or I don't really feel like doing that, or like whatever. And just practicing in those low stake situations. Um, and as you do this, it's going to feel less and less dangerous to your brain. It's going to start to feel more familiar because maybe you've asked once on a smaller scale, your husband didn't freak out. So it's like, okay, we can do that again with something else. And we just start going along this journey of being able to get our needs met and for our voice to be heard, and you start feeling more like a partnership. Again, this shifts everything in your life, literally everything in your life. This shifts the relationship that you have with your husband. This will start to shift the relationship that you have with your kids. This will start to shift the relationships that you have with your friends. Like, it is going to spill over into every area of your life. And when you start to recognize that it's not so scary to speak up, you are going to feel like a little rebel speaking up in every area of your life and being able to just look at an area and be like, oh, I actually don't want to do that, or I actually need help here. How can I get this need met? And you're going to get your needs met a lot easier than it feels right now. And so, if we really look at like what's behind the fear of speaking up, a lot of times it's just fear of rejection, it's fear of conflict. And if we think about like the basic human needs are like love and connection, are some of the needs that we have. And so the fear of rejection can feel life threatening to us because as a child, It really was. Like, we needed love and connection to be able to like grow in a healthy way. And if we didn't get that, then we learn these patterns of behavior that we have created in our own lives now. And then that fear of um conflict, like what if this is something that I just can't handle, and I end up like falling back into old patterns and I just do it anyways, and then for the rest of my life I am sacrificing myself for the sake of others. And it's like, no, this is why we start small. This is why the fear of being perceived as a bitch, right? Because we don't want to be that person. These are all the reasons why like it just feels so scary to start to speak up. But just know, however old you are right now, for me, I just turned 37. It's like we're undoing 37 years of hard wiring. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen one baby step at a time. For me, I've undone a lot in the past 2 years. This is stuff that I've been working on in therapy and with a coach for 2 years now, and really undoing. So I want you to know that, like, this is how my therapist explains it to me. We pull on the roots, right? So if we know that this came from speaking up feels scary and dangerous because that's what we learned in childhood, we also get to know that it probably affected a lot more areas than just like this one circumstance or this handful of circumstances that happened in childhood that taught us asking for our needs to be met wasn't safe. So when we pull on that root, it's going to connect to all these other root systems. And so as we're undoing it, it's not going to take a full 37 years for me to undo everything, right? It's going to take a shorter amount of time because as we pull on one root system, well, it's connected to a lot. It's why the reticular activating system, right, in your brain. It's like you buy a yellow car and you hop on the freeway, suddenly you're noticing all the yellow cars. It's the same thing here. When you start to recognize where a boundary needs to be put in place, you're going to start to see all the areas that a boundary needs to be put in place. Or you start to see all the other areas where you actually do have the desire and speak up so that you can shift your life. And so it's not that it's going to take all this time to undo all of this. It's just the fact that we got to start to pull on these little roots. And as we do, baby step our way in, it grows into a much bigger root system that's going to undo a lot for us and really help us move forward faster. So think about it that way. So no more staying silent like we learned as kids, no more keeping everybody else happy. You get to have your needs met. I feel like I've said that a lot this month, but you do get to have your needs met. And you do get to start to look at where are some situations where you have avoided speaking up, and write down what you were afraid of. And then I want you to look at what you might gain by speaking your truth. So let's say it's the milk situation. Maybe it's the helping with cooking. I freaking hate cooking. It's not necessarily the cooking I hate. It's more so the having to come up with something to eat for every single day, right? And so now my kids help cook. My husband cooks more than I do. And so I want you to start to look at what do you have to gain if you start to speak up. Maybe it's feeling less alone in your house. It's having support. It's feeling like a partnership with your husband. It's not having to nag at your kids because they're stepping up and helping. And you are no longer carrying all the weight of everything on your shoulders. And so I just want to remind you again to really look at what you are losing by not speaking up. And then I want you to start on a small scale. And then when those little child parts of you start to pop up, I want you to be able to tell her, it's okay. It's okay. We are safe. We're going to try this. And when you start to realize that your husband doesn't like retaliate like maybe one of your parents used to, you're going to feel safer and safer asking again, and maybe for something else, and maybe let's try it here and let's try it here, and your confidence in it is going to grow, and you're going to start to undo all of those years of hardwiring thinking that it was like unsafe or dangerous. Okay. And then again, I just want to invite you to hop on a clarity call with me. If you have an area of your life, as I've been talking about this, that you're like, oh, I just need a little bit of support, I offer a free clarity call. I call it a mom life breakthrough call, but where you hop on a call with me and we work through an area of your life that you are wanting to shift. And I help you see how you can get where you want to go and what that will look like and how it's going to feel when you start to create all of these changes in your lives that you desire. And there's so much benefit in just getting a second set of eyes on your life. And I have done a lot of work to really change my life. I came from a rough childhood, getting pregnant at 18, um, a really rocky first 7 years of my marriage at least, and being able to shift all of that and now seeing all the mistakes I made along the way and how I can help you do it without making all of the same mistakes that I made is huge for you because it was a lot of trial and error on my end. I have figured out what works. I have figured out how to ask and how to just like reparent that little version of ourselves that's so scared so that you can truly create a life that you are excited to wake up to, a life that you are the authority of, and nobody else is telling you how to live it. And I will talk to you next time.